I'm Dr. Alexander Reeves, and I've been a diagnostic radiologist at Mercy General Hospital in Portland, Oregon for 24 years, or at least I was, until I submitted my resignation last October. During my career, I've analyzed over 450,000 medical images, diagnosed everything from microscopic tumors to complex genetic abnormalities, and helped save countless lives through early detection of conditions that would have gone unnoticed. But what I'm about to tell you about is the one patient whose scans made me question everything I thought I knew about human anatomy, medical imaging, and the very nature of what defines us as human beings. Mercy General Hospital is one of the most advanced medical facilities on the West Coast, serving the greater Portland metropolitan area with state-of-the-art diagnostic technology. As the chief of diagnostic radiology for the past 8 years, I've worked with every type of imaging equipment available in modern medicine: 64-slice CT scanners, 3 Tesla MRI machines, digital mammography systems, ultrasound arrays, and nuclear medicine cameras that can detect molecular-level changes in tissue. I've diagnosed rare genetic conditions that occur in 1 in a million births, identified tumors smaller than a pea growing in locations that shouldn't sustain malignant growth, and witnessed healing processes that seem to defy established medical understanding. In 24 years of interpreting medical images, I thought I had developed an encyclopedic knowledge of human anatomical variation. I was wrong. The case that shattered my understanding of human biology began on a foggy Thursday morning in September 2023. I had arrived at the hospital at 6:30 a.m., my usual time, and was settling in with my first cup of coffee when my secure pager buzzed at 7:17 a.m. The message was from Dr. Rebecca Martinez, one of our most experienced emergency department attendings. The text was brief but urgent. Priority imaging needed immediately. 28-year-old female, severe headache and visual disturbances. Possible stroke or brain tumor. Need comprehensive neurological workup ASAP. I made my way quickly to the imaging department on the hospital's second floor, where my senior technologist, Thomas Park, was already powering up our newest MRI machine, a cutting-edge 3 Tesla system that had been installed just 6 months earlier. Thomas had worked alongside me for over 12 years, and his technical expertise was unmatched. If there was something unusual about a patient's anatomy, or if our equipment was producing anomalous results, Thomas would identify it before the images ever reached my workstation. "What's the situation with this priority case?" I asked as I logged into the imaging system and pulled up the preliminary patient information. 28-year-old construction supervisor from Beaverton, Thomas replied, his fingers dancing across the MRI control panel as he calibrated the magnetic field strength. "Name's Isabella Hartwell. Came into the ER about an hour ago complaining of severe headaches that started 3 days ago, along with what she describes as strange visual effects, seeing things with unusual clarity, noticing details she never noticed before." I frowned as I reviewed the intake notes on my monitor. Any history of migraines, head trauma, drug use. According to the ER notes, completely clean medical history. No prior hospitalizations, no medications, doesn't even take aspirin. She's been working construction for the past 7 years, primarily as a crane operator and site supervisor. Her supervisor brought her in when she started describing visual disturbances during her shift yesterday. This was concerning. Sudden onset severe headaches in a young adult with no prior history could indicate anything from a brain aneurysm to a rapidly growing tumor. The visual disturbances made it even more urgent. They suggested the condition might be affecting her occipital lobe or optic pathways. The patient, Isabella Hartwell. At 7:45 a.m., the transport team wheeled Isabella Hartwell into our MRI suite. My first impression was of someone who looked remarkably healthy despite her obvious distress. She was approximately 5'7", with an athletic build that spoke of years of physical work. Her hands showed the calluses and small scars typical of someone in construction, but her overall appearance was that of someone in peak physical condition. "Miss Hartwell, I'm Dr. Reeves, Chief of Radiology," I said, approaching her gurney. "Dr. Martinez asked me to perform some imaging studies to help us understand what's causing your symptoms." She looked at me with startlingly clear green eyes. Even in the sterile fluorescent lighting of the MRI suite, there was something unusual about the clarity of her gaze, as if she was seeing details that others might miss. "The headaches are getting worse, doctor," she said, her voice steady despite the obvious pain. "But the weird thing is, my vision keeps getting sharper. I can see things I never noticed before. Texture in walls, individual leaves on trees from hundreds of yards away. It's like someone adjusted the focus on the world." This was an unusual combination of symptoms. Typically, conditions that cause severe headaches also produce vision problems, blurring, double vision, or blind spots. Enhancement of visual acuity was not something I had encountered in my years of practice. When did you first notice the visual changes? I asked as Thomas prepared the MRI scanner. Started the same time as the headaches, 3 days ago. At first I thought it was just because I was paying more attention to things because of the pain. But yesterday at the construction site, I could read the serial numbers on equipment that was over 200 feet away. My co-workers thought I was making it up. Dr. Martinez joined us as we prepared for the scan. Alex, her neurological exam was completely normal. Reflexes, coordination, cognitive function, everything checked out perfectly. But she demonstrated visual acuity that I've never seen before. She could read the bottom line of our eye chart from twice the normal distance. Any family history of neurological conditions? I asked Isabella. She shook her head. No, doctor. My parents are both healthy. All my grandparents lived into their 90s. We don't have any medical problems that run in the family. We began with a comprehensive brain MRI, including diffusion-weighted imaging, to detect any signs of stroke, flare sequences to identify inflammation or lesions, and high-resolution anatomical sequences that would reveal structural abnormalities down to the millimeter level. Isabella, this scan will take about 45 minutes, Thomas explained through the intercom as she lay in the MRI tube. I need you to stay as still as possible. The machine will make various sounds, but that's completely normal. I watched the images populate on my high-resolution monitors in real time, expecting to see signs of a tumor, bleeding, inflammation, or structural abnormalities that would explain her symptoms. What appeared on my screen instead made me question whether our equipment was functioning properly. The impossible brain Isabella Hartwell's brain MRI showed the most anatomically perfect neurological structure I had encountered in nearly a quarter century of diagnostic imaging. The symmetry between her left and right hemispheres was mathematically precise, something that simply doesn't occur in normal human neuroanatomy. Every brain shows minor asymmetries. It's one of the hallmarks of natural biological development. But Isabella's brain looked as if it had been designed by an engineer. The gray matter was distributed with geometric precision. The white matter tracks, the neural pathways that connect different regions of the brain, were organized in patterns that resembled complex circuit boards more than natural biological structures. The blood vessels feeding her brain were arranged in perfect fractal patterns, with none of the minor variations and irregularities that characterize normal human vascular anatomy. Thomas, run a diagnostic on the MRI system, I said, staring at the images in disbelief. These results can't be accurate. Already on it, doctor. All systems are functioning normally. Magnetic field strength is stable. Image resolution is within expected parameters. I adjusted the contrast settings, thinking perhaps there was an artifact in the image processing software. The impossible perfection remained. I could trace individual neural pathways with clarity that normally required specialized diffusion tensor imaging. The hippocampus showed cellular-level detail that shouldn't be visible with standard MRI techniques. Run the scan again with different sequences, I instructed. I want T1 weighted, T2 weighted, and flare images using completely different protocols. The second scan produced identical results. Isabella Hartwell's brain wasn't just anatomically perfect. It was beyond anything I had seen in medical literature or anatomical textbooks. Dr. Martinez joined me at the imaging workstation. What are you finding, Alex? Rebecca, I'm looking at neuroanatomy that shouldn't exist in nature, I said, pointing to the monitor. Look at the symmetry, the vascular organization, the cellular definition. This level of structural perfection doesn't occur in biological systems. She leaned closer to examine the images. Are you saying there's something wrong with her brain? I'm saying her brain appears to be more perfectly organized than any human brain should be capable of being. The comprehensive workup, based on Isabella's symptoms and the unprecedented MRI findings, I recommended an expanded imaging protocol. We performed high-resolution CT scans of her head and neck, detailed vascular studies of her brain's blood supply, and specialized functional MRI sequences to evaluate brain activity patterns. Every single study revealed the same impossible anatomical perfection.
Her skull bones showed no signs of the normal growth lines and sutures that mark human development. The bone density was uniform throughout, with none of the minor variations that occur as skulls grow and adapt to brain development. Her cervical spine was perfectly aligned, no minor rotations, no evidence of the microtraumas that accumulate from normal daily activities. Most remarkably, her brain activity patterns during the functional MRI were unlike anything in the medical literature. When we asked her to perform simple tasks, moving her fingers, thinking about specific words, visualizing geometric shapes, Her brain showed coordinated activity across regions that typically function independently. It was as if different areas of her brain were communicating with an efficiency that far exceeded normal human neurological function. "Isabella," I said, entering her examination room after completing the imaging studies, "I need to discuss your results and ask you some additional questions about your personal history." "Of course, doctor. Is everything okay? You look concerned." I sat down across from her, choosing my words carefully. "Your scans show brain anatomy that I've never encountered in 24 years of practice. Everything is not just normal, it's organized with a level of precision that exceeds what we typically see in human neurological development." She looked puzzled. "Is that why my vision has been so sharp? Why I can see things other people can't?" "It might be related, yes, but I need to ask you about your early development. Do you remember anything unusual about your childhood? Any medical evaluations or treatments?" Isabella thought for a moment. "Not really. I was always good at spatial reasoning, mathematics, that kind of thing. My teachers said I had an unusual ability to visualize complex three-dimensional structures. That's actually how I ended up in construction. I could look at architectural plans and immediately understand how all the systems would fit together." "What about your parents? Do you remember them mentioning anything about your birth or early development?" "I was adopted when I was 6 months old," she said. "My adoptive parents never knew much about my biological family. The adoption agency said my birth parents were young and couldn't care for a child, but they never provided many details." This information added another layer to the mystery. Without access to her biological family history, it would be impossible to determine whether her unusual neuroanatomy had a genetic basis. "Isabella, I'm going to be completely honest with you. Your brain scans show structural organization that I've never seen before. The level of anatomical precision suggests either a developmental process we don't understand, or..." I paused, unsure how to articulate what I was thinking without sounding like I had lost my professional objectivity. "Or what, doctor? Or neurological development that didn't follow normal biological patterns?" The search for answers after Isabella left to return home with instructions to come back if her symptoms worsened, I began the most intensive medical research project of my career. I contacted colleagues at major medical centers across the country, sharing Isabella's anonymized scans and asking if they had encountered similar cases. Dr. Patricia Chen at Stanford University Medical Center called me within 48 hours of receiving the images. "Alex, please tell me you've digitally enhanced these scans for research purposes." "I wish I could, Patricia. We've performed multiple studies with different equipment and protocols. The results are consistently the same. The level of neuroanatomical organization you're showing me is theoretically impossible. Human brain development is characterized by asymmetry, minor structural variations, and evidence of the complex growth processes that occur during fetal and early childhood development. This patient's brain looks like it was constructed according to a perfect blueprint." "That's exactly what I thought. I need to see the raw imaging data. Can you transmit the complete study files through our secure medical network?" I spent the next week sending Isabella's scans to neuroanatomy experts at Johns Hopkins, Mayo Clinic, Massachusetts General Hospital, and the National Institutes of Health. The responses were unanimous. No one had ever seen neurological structure organized with such mathematical precision. Dr. Michael Torres from the NIH's National Institute of Neurological Disorders called me personally. "Reeves, I've been studying anomalous neuroanatomy for 15 years. I've seen cases of unusual brain structure, rare genetic conditions that affect neural development, and developmental abnormalities that challenge our understanding of how brains form. But I've never seen anything approaching the structural perfection in your patient's scans. Do you have any theories about what could cause this type of organization?" "Honestly, Alex, the geometric precision suggests either a genetic condition that we haven't identified yet." He paused, and I could hear the uncertainty in his voice. "Or what? Or developmental processes that don't follow normal biological patterns. The organization is so perfect that it almost looks artificial." The word artificial hung in the air between us, carrying implications that neither of us wanted to voice directly. The follow-up appointment. 2 weeks after Isabella's initial scans, she returned for a follow-up evaluation. Her headaches had completely resolved, but the visual acuity enhancement had become even more pronounced. "Dr. Reeves, I can see things that I don't think other people can see," she told me during the appointment. "Yesterday, I was working on a construction site, and I noticed stress fractures in steel beams that weren't visible to anyone else. When we brought in specialized equipment to examine the beams, the fractures were exactly where I had identified them. This was moving beyond enhanced visual acuity into territory that challenged basic understanding of human sensory capabilities. Isabella, I'd like to perform some additional tests. We have specialized equipment that can measure visual acuity with scientific precision. The ophthalmological evaluation confirmed what seemed impossible. Isabella could distinguish details at distances that exceeded normal human visual capability by a factor of 3. Her color discrimination was so precise that she could identify spectral differences that required laboratory instruments to detect. "How long have you been able to see like this?" I asked. "It started with the headaches 2 weeks ago, but it's been getting stronger every day. This morning I could see individual insects on leaves from over a quarter-mile away." I realized I was documenting sensory capabilities that fell outside the known range of human biology. The vanishing patient 3 days after Isabella's follow-up appointment, I called her home number to schedule additional specialized testing. The number had been disconnected. I contacted her employer. The construction company had no record of employing anyone named Isabella Hartwell. The address on her medical records led to a vacant lot in Beaverton. It was as if Isabella Hartwell had never existed, except for the detailed brain scans and test results stored in our hospital's digital archives. I began searching through medical databases for similar cases of anomalous neuroanatomy. I found scattered reports of patients with unusual brain symmetries or unexpected organizational patterns, but nothing that approached the geometric perfection I had documented in Isabella's case. The implications were disturbing. If Isabella's brain showed structural organization that exceeded normal human capabilities, and if she had demonstrated sensory abilities that fell outside known biological ranges, then what exactly had I been examining? The mystery deepens. 6 weeks after Isabella's disappearance, I was called to consult on another unusual neurological case. A 31-year-old software engineer named Catherine Morrison had presented to the emergency department with sudden onset severe headaches accompanied by what she described as enhanced cognitive processing abilities. Her brain MRI showed the same impossible anatomical perfection I had documented in Isabella's scans. Like Isabella, Catherine had no traceable medical history. Like Isabella, she demonstrated capabilities that exceeded normal human ranges, in her case mathematical processing speeds that bordered on superhuman. And like Isabella, she disappeared before we could complete comprehensive testing, leaving behind contact information that led nowhere. As I stared at Catherine's brain scans in my empty radiology department at 3 a.m., I realized I was looking at evidence of something that challenged everything I understood about human neurological development. These weren't patients with unusual medical conditions. These were individuals whose brain anatomy suggested they were fundamentally different from the rest of humanity. The question that began to haunt my sleepless nights was simple. If Isabella and Catherine weren't entirely human, then what were they? And more disturbingly, how many others like them were living among us, undetected, with their perfect neuroanatomy hidden beneath normal human appearances? The professional isolation word of my interest in these anomalous cases began to spread through the hospital. Colleagues started asking questions about my research, my methods, and my professional judgment. Dr. James Harrison, the hospital's chief of staff, called me into his office for a meeting that would change the trajectory of my career. "Alex, I've been hearing concerns about your recent cases. Some of your colleagues are questioning whether you're maintaining appropriate professional objectivity. James, I'm documenting neuroanatomical structures that challenge our understanding of human brain development. This is exactly the kind of discovery that advances medical science. Or it's the kind of obsession that damages careers and reputations. You've been spending excessive time on 2 patients who can't even be located for follow-up care. The imaging evidence is irrefutable. I have scans that show brain organization beyond anything in medical literature. Do you hear yourself, Alex? You're talking about patients whose brains are beyond human and who conveniently disappear before other physicians can evaluate them. How do you think that sounds to your colleagues?" The meeting ended with a strong suggestion that I focus on routine diagnostic work and avoid pursuing what Dr. Harrison termed speculative research projects. But I couldn't let go of what I had seen. The perfect geometric organization of Isabella's brain, the impossible sensory capabilities she had demonstrated, the mathematical precision of Catherine's neurological structures. These weren't hallucinations or equipment malfunctions. They were evidence of something that existed at the edges of human biology, something that might not be human at all.
The third case arrived on a rainy November morning, just as I was beginning to convince myself that Isabella and Catherine were isolated anomalies, medical curiosities that defied explanation but posed no broader implications for my understanding of human biology. I was wrong again. Dr. Martinez called me at 6:45 a.m. with another priority neurological case. "Alex, I need you to look at something. 35-year-old male, physics professor from Reed College, came in with the same complaint. Severe headaches followed by enhanced cognitive abilities. Says he's been solving mathematical equations that previously took him hours to work through. The patient was Dr. Nathan Cross, a theoretical physicist who had been experiencing symptoms identical to Isabella's. The headaches had started 5 days earlier, followed by what he described as computational abilities that seemed to exceed my previous intellectual capacity. When I performed his brain MRI, I found myself staring at the same impossible neuroanatomical perfection, the geometric precision, the mathematically perfect symmetry, the cellular-level organization that looked more engineered than evolved. But Nathan's case provided something the others hadn't: documentation of his abilities. Dr. Reeves, I've been documenting my enhanced cognitive processing, Nathan told me during his examination. Before this started, I was working on a quantum mechanics problem that had stumped me for months. Yesterday I solved it in 23 minutes. I also derived a new theorem in theoretical physics that I've never encountered in any literature. He showed me pages of complex mathematical equations, calculations that would normally require teams of researchers and powerful computers. The work was not only accurate, but demonstrated insights that pushed the boundaries of current theoretical physics. Nathan, have you always had exceptional mathematical abilities? I was good at math, sure, but this is different. It's like someone upgraded the processing power of my brain. I can visualize mathematical concepts in 11 dimensions simultaneously. That shouldn't be humanly possible. The pattern emerges over the next 2 months. I encountered 4 more patients with identical presentations: severe headaches followed by enhanced capabilities, perfect neuroanatomical structure on MRI, and mysterious backgrounds that couldn't be verified. There was Maria Santos, a 29-year-old linguist, who suddenly developed the ability to speak and understand languages she had never studied. Her brain scans showed the same geometric perfection, with language centers organized with mathematical precision. Then came Robert Chen, a 33-year-old engineer who began demonstrating intuitive understanding of complex mechanical systems. He could look at blueprints and immediately identify design flaws that computer modeling had missed. Each patient showed capabilities that exceeded normal human ranges. Each had brain anatomy that defied natural biological development, and each disappeared before comprehensive testing could be completed, leaving behind untraceable identities and contact information that led nowhere. I began maintaining a detailed database of these cases, documenting every aspect of their presentations, their enhanced abilities, and their impossible neuroanatomy. The pattern was undeniable. These individuals were not experiencing medical conditions. They were demonstrating what appeared to be evolutionary advantages. The investigation I contacted Dr. Sarah Williams at the National Institutes of Health, a researcher who specialized in studying exceptional human abilities. When I shared my findings, her response changed everything. Alex, I've been tracking similar cases across the country for the past 3 years. We've identified over 40 individuals with enhanced cognitive abilities coupled with neuroanatomical structures that don't match normal human brain development. You mean this is happening nationwide? We believe it's happening globally. The NIH has been quietly investigating what we're calling enhanced neurological phenomena. The individuals you've documented match our profile exactly. Dr. Williams arranged for me to consult with a classified research project examining these cases. What I learned during that consultation shattered my remaining beliefs about human biology and our place in the natural world. The enhanced individuals aren't suffering from medical conditions, Dr. Williams explained during our secure video conference. They appear to be examples of accelerated human evolution, demonstrating capabilities that represent significant advances over baseline human neurological function. Evolution doesn't work that quickly, I protested. These changes are appearing in fully developed adults. That's what makes this so remarkable. We're seeing rapid neurological restructuring that occurs over days rather than generations. The geometric perfection you've documented suggests guided development rather than random evolutionary processes. The implications were staggering. If these individuals represented evolutionary advancement, then humanity might be undergoing a transformation that we were only beginning to understand. The professional consequences. My involvement with the NIH research project became known to hospital administration. Dr. Harrison called me into his office for what would be our final meeting. Alex, I've received calls from federal agencies asking about your research activities. This hospital cannot be associated with classified government projects or speculative research that might compromise our medical reputation.
James, we're documenting evidence of human neurological evolution. This could be the most significant medical discovery in history, or it could be a career-ending obsession with patients who may not even exist. I've reviewed your recent cases. None of these individuals can be contacted for follow-up care. None of their background information can be verified. You're chasing phantoms. The brain scans are real. The documented abilities are real. The brain scans show unusual anatomy. I'll grant you that. But your interpretations have moved far beyond objective medical analysis. I'm recommending you take a leave of absence to reassess your professional priorities. The leave of absence became early retirement when I refused to abandon my research. After 24 years of distinguished service, my career ended because I had documented evidence that challenged fundamental assumptions about human biology. The ongoing mystery: I now work as a private medical consultant in a small town outside Portland, handling routine imaging cases that don't involve questions about the nature of human evolution. But I continue to monitor reports of individuals with enhanced abilities and perfect neuroanatomical structure. The enhanced individuals I encountered have never been found. Isabella Hartwell, Catherine Morrison, Nathan Cross, and the others vanished as completely as if they had never existed. But their brain scans remain in medical databases, silent testimony to capabilities that exceed normal human ranges. Dr. Williams contacts me periodically with updates on the NIH research. The enhanced individuals are appearing with increasing frequency. Their abilities continue to advance beyond baseline human capabilities, and their neuroanatomical perfection suggests developmental processes that science doesn't yet understand. Alex, we're witnessing something unprecedented in human history, she told me during our last conversation. The question isn't whether these individuals represent evolutionary advancement, it's whether the rest of humanity is ready to acknowledge what we're becoming. The haunting truth. What haunts me most about my encounters with the enhanced individuals isn't their impossible neuroanatomy or their superhuman abilities. It's the possibility that they represent the future of human consciousness. If Isabella could see microscopic details at impossible distances, if Nathan could solve mathematical problems that should require teams of researchers, if Maria could understand languages she had never studied, then perhaps the human brain is capable of far more than we've ever imagined. The geometric perfection of their neural architecture suggests optimization rather than natural development. Their enhanced abilities indicate processing capabilities that exceed current human limitations. Their mysterious origins and untraceable identities imply they may be part of something larger than individual medical anomalies. I've spent sleepless nights wondering whether I encountered the next stage of human evolution, or something else entirely. Were these patients examples of what humanity is becoming? Or were they something that had always existed alongside us, hidden until their enhanced abilities made concealment impossible? The perfect patient, Isabella Hartwell, remains the case that changed everything. Her perfect neuroanatomy, her impossible visual acuity, her mysterious disappearance, all of it points to possibilities that medical science isn't prepared to acknowledge. She called herself human, she looked human, but her brain was organized with precision that exceeded anything in nature, and her abilities transcended the boundaries of human sensory capability. The question that haunts me isn't whether Isabella was human, it's whether humanity is more than we've ever realized. Perhaps the enhanced individuals aren't anomalies. Perhaps they're glimpses of what we're all capable of becoming. Some mysteries change how you see the world. Some discoveries force you to question everything you thought you knew about reality. And some perfect patients stay with you forever, not because of what they were, but because of what they revealed about the impossible potential hidden within human consciousness. The enhanced individuals are still out there. Their numbers are growing. And someday, the world will have to confront the truth about what humanity is becoming. Until then, I'll keep their brain scans safe, waiting for the day when science is ready to acknowledge that the human brain may be capable of perfection we never imagined possible. The perfect patient still haunts me, not because she was impossible, but because she showed me that impossibility might be more human than we ever dared to believe.